All right, guys, I'm Miss McClendon, and today we are back with another lesson. We are in Unit 2, Lesson 2, Share More Sandwiches. So if you're following along in your book, we are on page 6. Our goal for today is to use diagrams and expressions to represent division situations. Now, before we go on, let's make sure we understand what this means. Division situations. A division situation is just any situation that requires us to break up something or some things into equal groups or equal parts. So in our last lesson, we talked a lot about sharing sandwiches. So if we saw the fraction 1/2 and we wanted to represent that using a model, if this was my sandwich, this fraction 1/2 means that I have one sandwich that I am dividing by 2 because I want to share my one sandwich with 2 people. So what I would do is split this down the middle. This would make sure that both people get an equal amount, and I would have my representation here. So the fraction 1/2 is equal to 1 divided by 2, and this is what it would look like. This is described as a division situation. All right, moving on. Our warm-up for today is an estimation exploration. It says name that fraction. The large rectangle represents 1 or 1 whole. What fraction of the large rectangle is shaded? So when they reference the large rectangle, we're talking about this entire thing, and we have to figure out what this portion represents. And obviously, we don't have all the information that we need, which is why it's an estimation exploration. But it's asking us to record an estimate that is too low, one that is about right, and then an estimation that is too high of what this shaded portion can represent. So let's go ahead and make a guess that is let's go too low. So I know I'm going to go ahead and write, let's make sure we got a pen that you can see. I'm going to write 1/100th. I know that 1/100th is too low because the shaded portion is too big to be there. 1/100th is, I can't even show you what that would probably look like with this pointer that I have because it's so small. I'm going to go ahead and make another one. Let's say, how about 1/50th? A 50th is so small that, again, I just think that the portion that we have shaded here just doesn't make sense. And so now we're going to go ahead and make one that is too high. So for too high, I'm going to say 1/2. Now, we know that if we had a half, it would be cut right down the middle, and the rest of this would be shaded in. And so obviously, we do not have that much, and so that's how we know that 1/2 is going to be way too high. What's another one that we think is too high? How about even maybe 1/3? 1/3 seems like it's going to be too high. 1/3 is not going to work because, again, if I was breaking this up into thirds, I'd be looking at something around there. So the rest of this, I'll just color the whole thing that color. It would all be shaded in. We'd have 3 equal parts. But again, we know that that just doesn't really make sense. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. And so we can go ahead and make an estimate that is just about right. So I'm gonna estimate. We're gonna see what we can find here. So using what we know, I'm gonna go ahead and try to make another piece that is about the same. And another, and another, and another. Now, I know they're not exact, but let's see what we would have here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 almost equal parts. And so I would go ahead and say then we can make an estimate of 1/6. 1/6 is going to be about right. And the reason, again, is that if we take a look at this shape, this rectangle, the entire thing, and we had to break it up into equal parts, obviously this one's going to be exact because my drawings aren't exact as the diagram is, but they're pretty close. And so we would have 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, 4/6, 5/6, and 6/6. So about 1/6 is going to be a good answer. But if you did not draw those individual pieces out the way that I did, you could also maybe guess 1/5 as about right, or maybe even 1/7 as about right. But just based on what we're looking at, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to guess the correct answer is 1/6. All right, we are moving on to activity 1, one sandwich. Jada's family made sandwiches to share at a family celebration. And I meant to say, if you're following along in your book, we are on page 7. Jada's family made sandwiches to share at a family celebration. A, complete the table to show how much sandwich each person gets. So we are taking a look at this table. We see in the far left column, it shows us the amount of sandwiches being shared. And we can see that in each of these cases or these division situations that there's one sandwich being shared each time. Our next column shows the number of people sharing the sandwiches. And so we can see it goes 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we have some empty columns that says amount of sandwich each person gets, and then a division expression. So what this is asking us to do is to show how much each person will get. So for example, if there's one sandwich being shared between two people, it's gonna look like the pizza representation that I drew earlier when we were talking about our learning goal. So that would look like in fraction form, let's get our pen ready, that's gonna be 1/2. So if there's one sandwich being shared between two people, each person will get 1/2 of a sandwich. And if we wanted to write that out as a division expression, we will write 1 for our one sandwich divided by 2 for our two people. And so we're going to go ahead and do that for the next 3 items. So we have one sandwich being shared by 3 people. So that tells us that if we have one sandwich, we're going to divide that into thirds. And if we need to make our division expression, well, we still have our same one sandwich divided by the number of people. And so how many people do we have? 3 this time. So 1 divided by 3 will be our answer there. And we can just continue to move on. The next one, we still have that one sandwich. But this time, there are 4 people. So 1/4. Each person would get 1/4 of a sandwich. And if we wanted to write our expression, we have one sandwich divided by 4 people, or 1 divided by 4. And let's take a look at this last one. We have still just one sandwich. I'm not sure how big this sandwich is. And we have 5 as the number of people sharing it. So each person would get 1/5 of the sandwich. And if we wanted to write that as an expression, we have 1 divided by, how many people do we have? 5. 5 people are sharing. So it will be 1 divided by 5. All right. B says, choose one row from the table and represent your thinking with a diagram. So I'm going to do, let's see, how about I choose 1/4. We're going to go with the third column down, so we're going to do this one here. So I have one sandwich, and I have 4 people. So that means that we're going to want to break this up into 4 equal parts. And I'm going to represent 1/4. So each person will get 1/4. But if you wanted to see some variation here, I can show you. So that's one portion. And I messed that up a little bit, but here's another portion. Here's another portion. And finally, another 1/4. So this shows that each person gets 1/4 of the sandwich. And let's clean this up a little bit. And you know what? We can go ahead and just do one more representation if that's okay with you. So let's do 1/3. So just the one right above it. So we'll draw our sandwich. That was a little crooked, but we'll break it into 3 equal parts. So we have 1/3 there, and then someone else will get another piece. Let's get another color, and then 1/3 here, and then one more person will get that final 1/3. All right, so that's how we would represent this division situation. And then C says, what patterns do you notice in the table? Well, I noticed that each one of these is a unit fraction, meaning that we have a 1 in the numerator. I noticed that the denominator is going up a number, so it goes 2, 3, 4, and 5. I also noticed that under our division expressions, our dividend each time is a 1, and then our divisor increases by 1 each time. Again, we have 2, 3, 4, and 5. I also noticed that if I wrote 1/2 here, or this 1/2, that my division expression is going to be very similar with 1 divided by 2. And I have 1/3 or 1/3 here, and my division expression is 1 divided by 3, and that pattern also continues on. All right, if you're following along in your book, you can go ahead and close it. We're not going to be doing activity 2 because we can't use our card sort in the video. So instead, we're going to do a practice problem from this section. This is problem number 1. And A says 4 hikers share 3 liters of water. How many liters of water does each hiker drink? Explain or show your reasoning. So we can do both. We can make a visual representation, and we'll also make an expression to represent this problem. So again, it says how many liters does each hiker drink? And we can actually make this a little smaller, can we? No, we can't. All right. So we know that we have 3 liters of water. So let's just pretend that these are bottles of water. There's 1 liter. There's 2 liters. That one's a little bigger, sorry. And 3 liters of water. Now we need to split this up equally between 4 hikers. And so I made the first one a little smaller, but just pretend that these liters of water are all the same size. Now, hiker number 1 is going to get this piece, and hopefully they're not just sharing it this way, and this piece here though. So we have 1/4 here, 1/4 here, and 1/4 here, because we know that there are 1, 2, 3 liters of water shared by 1, 2, 3, 4 hikers in each liter. So if we had to write that out, we would say that each hiker would receive 3/4, and we know that we can write that as a division expression as 3, as in the 3 liters of water, divided or shared equally between 4 hikers. So the answer would be each hiker gets 3/4 of a liter of water. The next one says 4 hikers equally share 5 liters of water. So this sounds like a much better situation if you're out hiking with 4 friends, well, 3 other friends. How many liters of water does each hiker drink? And again, I'm just going to go ahead and underline my question so I don't get confused. And this time, again, we know we have equally, so everyone's getting the same amount. And so we have 5 liters of water. So I'm going to draw 5 bottles this time. So that's bottle number 1 and 2, and bottle number 3, bottle number 4, and bottle number 5. So I did my best. I know that these are not all the same, but pretend that they are. So for each of the 5 liters, we're going to split it up evenly into groups of 4. So we need to partition 4 each time. And again, let's go ahead this time and write let's write the division expression first. So we know we have 5 liters of water that's going to be shared equally or divided by 4 people. So we know that that means that each person will get 5/4 this time. So let's go ahead and break this up. And we have the first hiker will have about a 1/4 from each bottle. So there's 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, and another 1/4. And if we add those together, we end up with 5/4. So we can say that each hiker gets 5/4 of water. So before we head into our cool down, let's go ahead and make sure that we're all on the same page. So our learning target today was to use diagrams and expressions to represent division situations. So let's go ahead and practice just a few more to make sure that we understand exactly what that means. So here we have 2 division expressions. We have 1 divided by 6 and 3 divided by 4. And the question says, what does each expression mean in terms of the problems we were solving about people sharing sandwiches? So 1 divided by 6, we're going to go ahead and draw a representation to explain it. So we have a little bit more space. And so I'm going to go ahead and draw 1 sandwich because this 1 tells us how many of the item or items we're splitting up. So we have 1 sandwich, and we're going to split this sandwich up into 6 parts because I know I'm going to be sharing the sandwich with 6 people. So let's go ahead and make sure we got the right amount. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So each person will get the same amount. And then I'm going to go ahead and shade it in. So we have 1/6 is what each person will get. So 1/6 is equal to 1 divided by 6. And this is what that would look like. So in terms of our problems from earlier, we know that 1 divided by 6 means that we have 1 sandwich and we're imagining that it's being shared equally among 6 people. So each person would receive 1/6 or this amount here. All right, the next one says 3 divided by 4. So this one's going to be a little different because now we have more than just 1 sandwich. Now we have 3 sandwiches. So I'm going to go ahead and make our 3 sandwiches. There's sandwich number 1 and sandwich number 2, and sandwich number 3. And we know that we have 4 people that we're splitting these sandwiches up with. So I'm going to go ahead and partition so that each sandwich, and I know I messed up a little bit there, each sandwich is broken into 4 equal parts because there's 4 people sharing the 3 sandwiches. So we have 1, 2, and 3. So this expression 3, and I'm doing the same thing I did last time. I want the expression first. So 3 divided by 4 is going to be 3/4. So each person's going to get 1/4, 2/4, 3/4 of the sandwich. So hopefully we have a clear understanding of what this looks like so that you can go ahead and move on to the cool down and solve a problem on your own. All right, so our cool down says how much sandwich? A, 4 sandwiches are equally shared by 5 students. How much sandwich does each student get? Show or explain your reasoning. Well, I know that if I have 4 sandwiches, my fraction is going to be 4/5, because again, if we have 4 sandwiches, there's sandwich 1, here's sandwich 2, here's sandwich 3, and sandwich 4. I know that if I have 5 friends or 5 students, that each of the sandwiches needs to have 5 parts. And I know that this is not even, but I am doing my best. So we want to partition the sandwiches into 5 equal parts. So this way we know that each of the friends are getting the same amount. And so let's go ahead and just make sure we have it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Perfect. So we have sandwich 1, sandwich 2, sandwich 3, and sandwich 4 all equaling to split up into 5 equal parts. So let's go ahead and split this up. So each person will get 1/5 of the sandwich. So we have 1/5 here, 1/5 here, 1/5 here, and 1/5 here. If we add all those together, again, we're going to get that 4/5. So each student is going to get 4/5 of a sandwich. And then B says write an expression, a division expression to represent the situation. Well, we know if we have 4, not sure why the pen changed color, sorry about that. We know we have 4 sandwiches. They're being shared equally or divided by 5 students. This is going to be our division expression. And we can go ahead and answer it. And the answer is going to be 4/5. And that is it. Hopefully you got that answer correctly. And we will see you in the next lesson.